You see, whether we want to admit it or not, we all need to be rescued. And guys, I'm not just talking to the ladies this morning. You know, we live in a world that would say that every woman is a damsel in distress, just waiting for a knight in shining armor to come riding up and rescue her. And all of us men, we want to be that knight in shining armor riding up to rescue the damsel in distress. And while that's true, and while that's a real cool idea, here's a more important truth. We all desperately need to be rescued. You see, we need to be rescued whether or not we've ever had suicidal feelings or we've been depressed. We need to be rescued even if we think we're living the happiest life on planet Earth. We need to be rescued whether or not we've had a moment like George had here on the bridge where he just wondered, is life worth living? We all need to be rescued even if we think we're the poster child for living a wonderful life. You see, it's just universal within the human experience. We all need to be rescued. Our problem is that we're a lot like George, because there are times when we are depressed and down and out, maybe even suicidal, and there are times where we think, man, I wish someone would throw me a rope. I wish somebody would save me. You know, I desperately need a lifeline. I need somebody to pull me out of this funk that I'm in. And then there are other times where our attitude is kind of the flip side of the coin, where we tend to be a little bit more like, hey, I'm a self-made man. I'm the master of my own destiny. I'm the captain of my ship. Hey, I'm the king of the world. Sometimes our attitude is like that, and I have to be honest and say, I kind of understand that attitude. Because I'm kind of an intense, independent person. If you don't believe me, just ask my wife. She'll let you know that I am. And so I kind of understand that for some of us, this idea that we need to be rescued, it's kind of bogus to us. You know, me, I don't need to be rescued. That's for weak people. That's for people who really don't know quite where they're headed in life. But this morning, I want us to be real honest with ourselves. Because isn't it the truth that when we are all alone with our own thoughts, sometimes in the wee hours of the morning when we can't sleep, we realize how desperate we are. We realize how desperately we need help and how desperately we need to be rescued. You see, it's just universal within the human experience. We all need to be rescued. Now, theoretically, I can't prove this to you. You know, it's not like saying what goes up must come down, or the sky is blue, or the grass is green. Because when I make a statement like we all need to be rescued, I'm making a statement that comes from deduction. I'm making a statement that comes from life experience and faith. I'm making a statement from what we see in the world around us when we draw conclusions from what we see in life. But just think about it for a minute, okay? The reason that I make the bold statement that we all need to be rescued is because there are 6.7 billion religions in the world. If man could rescue himself, don't you think he would have by now? With 6.7 billion different religions, it's reasonable to deduct that so far, mankind has not come up with a self-rescue plan that works. When you think about these statistics, I think it's pretty reasonable to say that we all need to be rescued because we're all reaching out for help. This week I was reading about these two guys named Howard Storm and Ian McCormick. They were both atheists. They didn't know each other. And they both had near-death experiences. And through these near-death experiences, they became strong believers in Jesus Christ. And the reason that they turned to Christ in the face of death is because they realized that they could not rescue themselves. True story. This causes us to draw the conclusion that self-rescue doesn't work, and we all desperately need to be rescued. But beyond these 2 points of reason and deduction, all we really have to do is turn on the TV, right? Or read the newspaper, because the news around us is filled with stories that break our hearts, stories of people who desperately need to be rescued. Children, single moms, teenagers, dads, poor people, rich people, even celebrities, starving people, and everyone in between. Because the story of most people's lives today is, I feel so lost. I feel so trapped in my life. I'm suffocating, I'm drowning, and there's no way out. There's got to be something better than this. I feel like I'm at a dead end. We hear these things from people all around us. We see society desperately reaching for rescue. Some people even ending their lives in hope of rescue beyond this life. We hear them talk about it. We see it in the movies that we watch. In fact, I would argue this morning that being rescued in one form or the other is really an underlying theme in almost every movie that's ever been made. But so far, self-rescue hasn't worked, has it? So I really do think it's easy for us to deduct and say that we all need to be rescued. But herein lies the problem. We all need to be rescued, but the cost of our rescue is beyond our means, which leaves us in kind of a desperate situation. I'm not the first person to come up with this idea or this thought. About 3,000 years ago, a songwriter wrote about the same thing in Psalm 49, verses 7 and 8. This is from the Message. I like how he puts it. He says, really, in other words, get a grip, get real. There's no such thing as self-rescue. Pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps? Ha! What a joke. He's making fun, you see. He's saying there's no such thing as self-rescue, and here's why. Because the cost of our rescue is beyond our means. You can tell by this verse that the psalmist had come up to the same conclusion that we are discovering this morning, that self-rescue really doesn't work, because the cost of rescue is way beyond our means. This should make a light bulb go off in our head. Why would the psalmist write this? Why would he say that the cost of our rescue is beyond our means? Why would he say, hey, I've tried, I can't save myself, and I can't rescue myself? Well, if you read the rest of this psalm, and I invite you to, Psalm 49, you can tell that he wrote these words in light of the fact that life is short and we better have a rescue plan in mind. That's a cheery subject for me today on my 50th birthday, let me tell you. Because sooner or later, we're all going to face death. It's apparent that the psalmist here had experienced the same thing that George Bailey experienced standing on the bridge. That's why he wrote, the cost of rescue is beyond our means. I think that this thought, or something like it, was what was going through George's mind when he was standing there on the bridge thinking about ending his life. Because he was thinking, hey, there's no way out. I can't figure out a way out of this mess. The cost of my rescue is beyond my means. And that's when Clarence jumps in and rescues George. You see, George needed heaven's intervention.